Hi, good afternoon everyone, and welcome to our second pre-go live Milestone 3 December 2018 Town Hall. My name is Svetlana Solovieva, and I will be your presenter for today's Town Hall, and I have with me subject matter experts for both the GL and AP module. To my right, I have Adam, and then to my left, Maricela and Carmen. We have a few exciting things coming up today, so I'll go ahead and go over the agenda. We're going to demo a new audience feedback feature where we would like for you guys to provide immediate feedback for us, and then I'll go through some reminders and updates. We'll overview the resource page and address takeaway questions from last town hall, and then we will finish off with a demonstration of the $0 voucher. So, I'd like to introduce you guys to Menti. It's a new tool that we will be using to kind of gauge your engagement and receive immediate feedback. So either on your phone or using a web browser, please go ahead and go to menti.com and enter code 559656. It's up there on the screen, and then you'll be prompted to answer one question. It's just a quick yes or no, and I'll give you a couple of minutes to do that. That's pretty neat. I see your answers coming in, so that's exciting. Thank you. Let's do 30 more seconds. Awesome. So go ahead and keep that open. There'll be other questions that we'll be asking, and you can use the same login and the same code to answer them. So just keep that tab open or your phone nearby, and we'll come back to this tool. So a few reminders. We released the role mapping task, and then we sent another reminder last week with an update. There's a new due date of November 26, 2018, and once again, if your department doesn't have a GL Approver 1 role, please make sure that you do have one. And if you have any questions or are experiencing issues, please contact the Fiscal Service Center. We also released a change discussion task that will be due this Friday, November 30th. Please ensure that you're having those discussions with your supervisors, managers, but also the impacted end users so that they know of all the changes coming come December 3rd when we go live with the December release. And then also please submit and approve all open GL journals. We sent out a task with named Business 912. And again, there's also, for this one as well, there's an updated due date of Friday, November 30th by 5 p.m. So absolutely all journals that are started in the GL module will need to be submitted for approval and approved to eliminate extra work post-go live. If, however, you're unable to submit and approve them by 5 p.m. on November 30th, we will be sending a follow-up communication after go live explaining the process and the necessary steps to take to then get them through the approval process. And then we also released a cutover communication yesterday, Info 911. If you didn't get it, please reach out to your department liaison and ask them to forward it to you. And this communication shares a lot of useful information. There are links to job aids and other resources, but the most important thing is that the Fiscal system will be unavailable for all end users from 6 p.m. on Friday to 8 a.m. Monday, December 3rd. We have updates to job aids. We have 3 new ones. They're all posted on our job aid page, and there's also 3 updates to existing job aids. And in fact, Fiscal 404, one of our new ones, is undergoing another round of updates, and so you'll see a 2.0 there soon. And per usual, I will show where the resource page is located. So if we go on the Fiscal website, library, and then resources. And then the second link for SEO integrated solution, and you'll see this is all the resources that we make available to you for this release will be listed under December 2018 release. We have posted our Department Change Impacts workshop, both the presentation in PowerPoint format as well as the recording. We have the town hall from November 14th on here. We'll have this one posted as well, so you will see both the presentation and the recording, and you can share that with other users in your department who weren't able to attend today. We have also posted a GL journal catch-up video, and we will be posting an AP journal catch-up video soon as well. And you'll also find the change discussion checklist and log on here. There's also a guide and any other information that and resources that we think will be valuable to you, we'll be posting on here. So please check it out. And now let's go ahead and review our takeaway questions. So we had 9 takeaway questions in our last town hall. I'll go ahead and leave these up here for you to read through. We will also have this presentation posted, so you'll have access to these after today's town hall is over. And then the next 3 questions, these address CD 102, and then there's and the next 2 are about claims processing and claim accounting. And then these are our last 3 questions. There was one about combo edit, and then a related voucher function work for ORF, as well as increased authority for the T account. And again, if you want to refer to these questions after this WebEx town hall, we'll have them posted on our SEO integrated solution page. I see we had some questions come in, so we'll go ahead and answer a few of those now. Please read the question.
Okay, so this is in regards to the question ARBBU 3900, I think it says, the EPA 0555, have service location combo edit requirements. How will the claim schedule interface work without airing out? It says, can we provide the service location on the claim schedule or default a service location? So there isn't going to be a way right now to provide that for the claim schedule. Legacy wouldn't know what to do with it, and they would have to do some changes to their processing in order to allow that to go through and flow to Fiscal. So in the meantime, if there are combo edits that are requiring a field, we would be using a default. So in this case, we would have to identify a default for service location. It's the same thing that we're doing for reporting structure also. We would just be a default.
Thank you, Adam. Looks like we have another question. My department has not closed the prior fiscal year. This would impact anything not recorded for that year, correct? Anything, is that a, yeah, so let's go ahead and answer that question. Would one of you be able to?
Looks like it's year-end close. So if you're worried about things not being like stuff that was processed in legacy prior, you'll still be able to do catch up. Yeah. So if that's the concern, is like if you have things that still need to be recorded in Fiscal that's already posted in legacy, you'll still have time to do catch up. It's not, we won't stop that. So I don't know if that answers the question.
If you are catching up the transaction, you haven't closed the fiscal year, those entries will be enter with the, you can select the SEO, the SEO type of transaction. There is a multiple type of SEO transaction that you can select. You can select either catch up, SEO initiated, or department level transaction. Those are the SEO type transaction that you can select that it would not be interfaced back to the legacy. So you can still do this. So just make sure you select the right SEO type of transaction. Those SEO type transactions will not workflow and interface to SEO.
So we will, Tom wants to add. All right, this is Tom Morez in the room with us.
So I asked that question also about year-end closing or any transactions that are in the process. So there will be some information going out about more distinction about that question. But to be clear, if the transaction has already been submitted, if you have GL workflow approval right now and you've submitted the transaction, it will go down the old path. If it is not in a submitted state, if it's just been saved and you haven't processed it, it will go through the new SEO GL workflow. So there will be some further documentation coming out about that on the communications, so that'll clarify that. But just to be clear, if you haven't finished and you're still working on prior year and you haven't really gone through your posting of those journals, then they will be starting with the new workflow. So, and that's when Carmen mentioned that you have to pick the source type and all that. So there will be some documentation going out to you. So don't worry, it will be coming.
Wonderful. Thank you, Tom, for that reassurance. Appreciate it. And right now we are going to go back to Menti and get your feedback. So there are going to be 2 questions for you to answer. We'd like to know if you found the answers to the takeaway questions helpful. So please go ahead and use 559656 to provide your responses. And we will give you 30 seconds. I see the responses coming in, so thank you for that. Appreciate your participation. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the next question. So if you didn't find the questions helpful, or if you need further information on one of the questions, please go ahead and submit either a follow-up question or maybe an explanation to a question that you felt wasn't answered correctly or wasn't elaborated on enough, and we will take in your responses and try to address them either in this town hall or the next one. So it sounds like there wasn't enough time to read and digest the responses. Again, we will have the PowerPoint posted online so you can refer back to it and read those at any point. Couple more seconds to answer that question. If you still want to submit a response, feel free to go ahead and do that, but we're going to go ahead and answer some of the questions that came in through our WebEx platform. There's a question on what is the frequency of payment interfaces between Legacy and Fiscal?
So for the payment interfaces, that's going to be daily. So as the warrants are created, that's when they come over. They come over on a daily basis. So as they're being issued, they'll come over to Fiscal.
Perfect. Thank you, Adam. Question of whether the presentation will be posted on the Fiscal website so that you can share the takeaway questions with your staff. It will be posted on the SCO Integrated Solution page within the next few days, so please check back. Will this new process continue to allow departments to pull out the report at chart field level? For example, reporting structure, account, alternate account, service location, and payment information. If so, please provide the report name.
So if you're referring to the legacy claims, I don't know if there's a report that pulls that, but you can view the actual chart fields and export. So on the subsystem accounting entries page, there's going to be a claim option, and you can put in the claim schedule, and then it would show you your accounting entries, and you would be able to export that, the exact chart fields that it posted to. So I don't.
It looks like there's another maybe similar question from Covered California. We have paper claims, e-claims that have thousands of payments. When the reporting structure comes through with the generic number, does it come through via the AP or GL module? Also, will we have to reclassify all these manually, or is there an upload?
So if they are all on the same claim schedule, they will all have the same default, and it would be the accounting entries originate in AP, but they would flow to GL. So they would actually be in both places. If you needed to, I'm guessing that you're going to reclassify to different reporting structures for each payment. So as far as I'm aware, there's no upload for that, but that probably, if you have a lot, if it ends up being a lot, we should probably look into that possibility. Unless, maybe Tom knows something.
Tom is walking over.
Tom knows something.
So there is a GL upload process. However, we always recommend that you do the corrections in the submodule where the transaction originally occurred. But in this instance, where you have thousands of electronic entries, it may just be better to do it in GL, since we do have a GL upload process. But you can, that's a determination that your department will have to make.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you, Tom. A request to please clarify the default for project combo edit. I think that's in regards to the question 7, to avoid double entry. We have credit expenditure with a high level and debit expenditure, the departmental chart field. If we have combo edit in place, can we post GL journal and zero balance voucher without any combo edit error? So could you please?
So the original transaction, if it is a requirement, if it has a combo edit, then a default would have to go there. So I don't know if there's something that you were thinking of that's specific to project, because you did say project, and I don't see project on any of these other questions. So
Okay.
I don't.
Could you maybe just elaborate on what that default is for the combo edit and how that works?
Well, right now, I don't know of a default for project. There's supposed to be for the COA mapping is supposed to be set up. I don't know when that's going to be finalized, but I thought it was supposed to be pretty soon. So
Okay.
So it should translate to the correct project. So I don't think that there's supposed to be a need for a default for project. But
Okay, so it sounds like that's a takeaway question.
yeah, we're going to have to verify that about
Okay.
when the FTS, when they're supposed to have those COA values, the crosswalk set up.
Okay, so I will record that as a takeaway question, and we will have more information for you in our December 5th town hall. Can you please advise if GL journals were generated by Fiscal batch or but not yet approved, what do we do? Do we open a ticket? By Fiscal batch or FSC, but not yet approved, what do we do? Do we open a ticket? So it sounds like they were generated by Fiscal batch or FSC, but not yet approved.
Generated by batch. Well, it seems to me it seems to me that what you're saying is you've created it, you've submitted it for SEO approval, and it's sitting there. I don't think FSC would really be able to help in that situation. So
Is a Fiscal generated batch?
I don't know what that means. Why would it be approved? If
Yeah, if it's Fiscal generated batch, it should be approved.
yeah, so I'm trying to figure out the approval part. Maybe it's yeah.
Yeah, it's approved.
Yeah. So there wouldn't be waiting for approval at that point. The only ones that need approval is if it is routing for SEO. And it wouldn't be a Fiscal batch thing. It wouldn't be a batch.
If it's not posted in GL.
So not that it's approved, but maybe it's an error. Yeah, that seems like more of a scenario. Yeah, then I think that probably an FSC ticket for that. Yes.
Yeah, so this question came from BU0956, so if you could please either provide further elaborate on your question or send an email to FSC and open a ticket with them. Whatever, if you don't feel like we gave you a sufficient answer, then please elaborate on the question, because yeah. Okay. There is a question that says, my department has not closed the prior fiscal year. This would impact anything not recorded for that year to correct. We are a 2017 release, so we still have that year open. Could you please clarify in regards to what not being closed out you're referring to, and kind of maybe more what you're trying to ask? Okay. The cash receipts transaction requests are currently posted under the AR module. Post go live, we will continue posting our TRs in the AR module. Will that still be routed to SEO for proper approval? So we don't have We will have to take this question away. We don't have an ARC in the room, and we will get back to you. So there's a question, if we do not have our GL approval roles by December 3rd, should we wait to post journals? So after December 3rd, after we go live with the Milestone 3 functionality, you won't be able to post your journals until they have been approved, because your workflow will change. So yes, you would need a GL approver to complete and post your journals after December 3rd, which is why we ask that you please do it prior to cutover, so by November 29th or 30th at the latest. Will SCOs catch up entries for claims processed outside Fiscal post in the AP module with the invoice IDs to prevent making duplicate payments?
So I think when you're saying catch-up entries, I think you're just talking about our payment interface. So we don't really think of it as catch-up, but when we load those claims, they come over an interface, they create AP accounting entries, and then those AP accounting entries flow to GL. So, but if they're coming in from a legacy payment like electronic claims or paper claims, it would not have invoice IDs. So we do have safeguards to make sure that we're not posting the same claim twice. But if the department sent out a paper claim to pay for a particular invoice and then created the same payment basically in Fiscal, you would technically be able to do that, but the problem, you wouldn't, when you match the original voucher payment to that PO, it would close it out. You would just have an extra expenditure because there's no way to track those things between. So it really is up to the department to make sure that you're not paying it as a voucher and as a paper claim. If you create a voucher, you shouldn't create a paper claim. I think it's really
Adam? Yes.
So the next question, if payments are being issued daily, will we get the CD-102 daily or monthly? So it won't change. How you get it today is how you'll get it tomorrow, because these CD-102s, they're processed as is today. So the paper claim, you submit the paper claim, with that claim schedule and that envelope to the back, it issues a warrant. The CD-102, paper CD-102 goes back in the envelope and goes back to the department. So it really depends. I know that sometimes they get a little backed up over at SCO, and sometimes those envelopes don't go back as prompt as some departments would like, but that really isn't something that Fiscal can fix. That's more of an SCO issue, and there will be no change to that process. So Fiscal will have it in the system, but it's hard for me to guarantee when you will actually receive that physical CD-102.
Okay, thank you. The next question, will this new release have any effect on payroll being posted in Fiscal? We currently post a single journal entry to record the expenditure and reduction in cash. We then use labor distribution to redistribute that expenditure. Will this be an issue?
So for Milestone 3 Release 1, we're not really involving much of the payroll transfers in Fiscal. So that would be something that comes in Milestone 3 Release 4, I believe. So the only part that will happen is we will record the warrant in Fiscal for disbursements to track that warrant, but no accounting entries are going to happen. So I think that.
Let me try to understand the question. Are you talking about if today you get the CLO that you post into Fiscal as a debit expenditure credit cash, so and then you go and do the reclassification to take it out from 99 account post to the ultimate fund. So are you saying that, is this process going to have any impact when we go live? No, you shouldn't. And just provided you pick up the correct SEO type of transaction. In this case, you will pick up a catch-up / SEO initiate type of SEO type of transaction, that it will be fine.
We have a question. Is the new process effective for claim schedules generated starting December 3rd or claim schedules paid on December 3rd and after?
So I believe that we're not going to be loading or bringing in those claims until December 3rd. So anything that happened prior to that, we're bringing in the warrant information, but we're not duplicating any accounting entries for those ones that were older. The effective claim schedule generated or claim schedule paid. I'm trying to think about that. I think the ones that are, you might have some that are issued on December 3rd that might, so I would say probably December 3rd, paid on December 3rd and after.
Okay. Sounds good. So the answer would be the second option. So
The
claim
second option,
schedules.
yeah, that's the way I'm thinking.
Okay. The new process is effective for claim schedules paid on December 3rd or after, and after. And then there was a question about, will the answers be published somewhere on the Fiscal website? We will publish the recording of this whole webcast on the SEO integrated solution page, so you will be able to access the questions and answers there. We also use multiple JEs per fund in Fiscal to record our PFA expenditures. SEO is used to seeing one transaction request for all of these journal entries. Will this cause an issue with SEO approval? Yeah, I can repeat the question. So we use multiple JEs per fund in Fiscal to record our PFA expenditures. SEO is used to seeing one transaction request for all of these journal entries. Will this cause an issue with SEO approval?
For any PFA transaction, department is required to continue to use the paper transaction request sent to SEO, because this is a TC36 transaction. So right now we only handle TC35 and 38 transaction in Fiscal. So anything that the PFA journal entry that you receive, that we have to post in the Fiscal by using an SEO initiate or catch-up transaction SEO transaction type. So it will not workflow or interface back to Fiscal, to SEO.
Okay, we have quite a few questions, so we're going to try to get through most of them. How will the liquidation of encumbrance for this type of transaction be done?
That's a good question, and we have a demo coming later that specifically addresses that issue with liquidation of PO encumbrances.
Thank you. Will the payment data be interfaced into the AP module?
So I'm assuming that you're talking about our inbound payment interface. Yeah, it goes to AP first, and then those AP accounting entries flow to GL. So the initial accounting entries are in AP. So
When SCO interfaces catch-up vouchers for claims processed outside Fiscal, we were informed that no supplier information would be included. To reclassify these entries using journal vouchers, can departments add the supplier ID?
Oh, I see. So to reclassify the claim schedules, the legacy claims that are interfaced, you wouldn't use a JV, a journal voucher. You would be using a $0 voucher, that catch-up voucher that we're going to demonstrate later. We'll show you. Or you would use a GL journal, I believe. If you didn't need to close out like a liquidated PO, if you just wanted to reclassify, you can use a GL journal. There's a claim correction option, I believe. No, claim correction. It's not? Claim correction is to go back to reset. So it has to be.
Can you?
Oh, so okay, so it's not so it's if it's catch up, you mark it catch up, right? But this one, I think you.
Like Adam said, if you don't need to liquidate the PO, you can do this in GL journal, but you would not pick a claim schedule correction. Claim schedule correction SEO type of transaction is only for something for a department. They really have something to correct in the claim schedule. Let's say if a claim schedule pay in 2017 and now you want to put it change it to 2018, that is the time that you will use this SEO type of transaction. For anything that you want to reclassify that, you will have to pick the SEO type of transaction as a with classified clearing account reclass or a manual allocation SEO type of transaction.
Will the departments be notified when the payment is processed on this type of transaction, and how? When you guys write the questions, could you please clarify exactly what type of transaction you're referring to or what module you're talking about? It will help us to better understand and answer your questions. So for that one, please provide more information. I'm going to move on to the next question. Although our calculator profile tables include the service location, it doesn't translate in Fiscal. When will that be corrected?
I don't believe I have the answer to that one. I think that's something that they're working on in production, so we'll have to get back to you and see if they have a timeline on that one.
So we will go ahead and mark that as a takeaway question, and we'll address it in the next town hall. There was also a couple of requests to demonstrate the payment information page. Those two will also be takeaway, and we'll see if we can have a demo in our next town hall to show the payment information page. A question on what will happen if our suspense journals are not corrected by 11:30. I'm guessing this is in reference to all the OpenGL journals. It's not necessarily that they need to be corrected. You just need to submit and approve all GL journals that you started in the Fiscal system before cutover. If you don't, there'll just be a little bit of extra work that you'll have to do post-cutover to complete those. When creating a voucher receipt for an amount-only PO, do we enter the amount on the receipt with tax or without tax?
They're talking about the production question. I don't have the answer to that.
Okay, that's also a takeaway question. We will get back to you on that. How will the API counting entries be identified if not by a voucher number?
So for these legacy claims that payments that are being interfaced, they will be identified by the claim schedule number. So on the page, Today, when you look at it for a voucher on the subsystem accounting page, you would put the BU and you would put the voucher number or something. So for this one, it would be BU and claim schedule number. So you would need to know which claim schedule you are trying to look at.
Okay. What account code will be used when SCO interfaces payment data for claims processed outside of Fiscal?
Yeah.
So Carmen's telling me it's 5-3. Go ahead.
They will use the generic expenditure account code 5390900. 5390900.
Thank you. Will the State Controller's Office Record of Claims page agency major report still be available?
Yes, this report will continue to be available until end state.
Okay, thank you. Will transaction requests currently at SCO awaiting processing be processed before November 30th or sent back to be entered into Fiscal to be processed? So then the question is if a transaction request is already at SCO awaiting approval and processing, will it be processed by November 30th before we go live, or will it be sent back to be entered in Fiscal to be processed?
Well, we cannot guarantee that they will all be processed by November 30th, but anytime if you receive it, then it should be a SCO initiate or catch-up transaction type when you enter into Fiscal.
Carmen? The $0 voucher will not reclassify the interface payment chart fields, correct? So then we would have to still need to reclass the payment chart fields to the correct coding. This is a question from GCSD.
So, because in this particular release, you are using the secondary ID, so it's basically a catch-up voucher. It's going to be a man origin. You're going to do the $0 amount. In most cases, you could do it for the same exact chart fields, but you could do the reversing entries as the default. So you could technically reclass during this release with the $0 voucher. In a later release, there's going to be the ability to tie the individual claim schedules to that $0 voucher. So we have a new functionality coming in a later release that won't allow you to change the appropriation in that particular voucher. But in this release, when you're using the secondary user ID, you technically can do that reclass with that $0 voucher.
Okay.
It will allow you to do that.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Adam. When we use GL journals to reclass SCO payment interface data that is not tied to any POs, how can we track the payment activities at the supplier level? So I'll repeat the question again for the audience. When we use GL journals to reclass SCO payment interface data that is not tied to any POs, how can we track the payment activities at the supplier level?
I think that if you needed to track at that supplier level, you could still just do a $0 voucher without attaching a PO. You pick the supplier that you want, and you just create a $0 voucher. So one thing that I was told that I need to throw in there, and it seemed like a good spot for me to do it, there is a query that's going to be available. Because they're $0 vouchers, with other reports and queries, it wouldn't come up because it's $0 as a payment. They're creating a new query that's going to show you the dollar amount that would have been the payment if it wasn't $0. So it's specifically designed to pull those manual $0 vouchers and give you the supplier information and the dollar amount that was basically the expenditure lines. So you will be able to track that.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, and that query I think came as a result of us talking with some departments and understanding your needs. A question to demonstrate the $0 process, $0 voucher process, that is coming next. As soon as we get through a couple more questions, I'll have Maricela present the $0 voucher. Is the deadline for only GL journals keyed in the GL module, or does it also include GL journals flowing from submodules AR or AP which have not posted to GL by the deadline? Okay. Tom is coming up.
It's only concerning GL module. The ones that are flowing from the submodules are batch processed, so they are not impacted. You do not have control over those. However, the question did come up, if they are in suspense, what will happen? To answer that question, you're likely not going to have to worry about that because that was part of the old workflow structure. So as I repeated earlier, anything that was already in process will be corrected the same way as you're doing today. Anything new or that hasn't been submitted through the submodules or in GL for this particular question, then you will have to use the new workflow.
Thank you, Tom. What account code will be used for the claim schedule transactions interface from Legacy into Fiscal?
I think we already addressed that one. It's the 539090900.
I have been unable to find a job aid with instructions on creating queries. Can we create our own queries or must Fiscal create them for us? If so, how do we request that?
I don't think that question is quite for us.
So go ahead and contact the Fiscal Service Center and they should be able to assist you with that question. Okay, looks like we got through most of our questions. We had a request for the new query to include chart fields and invoice information. We'll pass the request on to our functional team and see if we could incorporate that. And at this point, I'll go ahead and pass it over to Maricela to show you the $0 voucher demonstration.
Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do a $0 voucher to liquidate a purchase order associated with a claim submitted outside of Fiscal. You will need to log in with your secondary user ID to do this. Okay, so we're going to go to main menu. accounts payable, vouchers, add update, regular entry. We're going to add a new value. Okay, so we'll type in the invoice number. Well, you guys would type in the invoice number, but for the purposes of this demonstration, I'm just going to put in test, and then for the invoice date and receive date, I'll just put in current date for now. And we're going to expand copy from source document. Copy from PO receipt. And then type in the receipt number. Okay, we're going to select it, and then we're going to copy selected lines. Now all your purchase order information is copied over to your voucher. So we're going to go to Pay Terms, and we want to select the zeros to expedite. We're going to insert a new invoice line. And on here, we're going to enter the offsetting amount. We have $100 up top, so I'm going to put minus 100. And then in the description, it's optional, so whatever makes sense for you to put on there, you can feel free to add. But for this purposes, I'll just put test. So you want to enter the same chart field information as above. And since the fiscal year that is being used is for prior year, we are going to need to choose a prior year date. So I'm going to put June 30th. For the total amount here, we'll just put 0 and then click on calculate and make sure that it adds up to 0. There's no difference. Which it does. So from here, we're going to click on sales/use tax. And we want to make sure that each line has use tax applicable. Use tax is used to liquidate the purchase order because you cannot apply a credit to sales tax. You also cannot select sales tax on your debit amount and then select use tax on your credit amount because your accounting entries will be off. So then we're going to go back to invoice and click on our payments tab, and we just want to verify that our cash type does say warrant, which it does. So at this point we can save. And now we have our voucher ID here. And at this point you can run your match and budget check, and then you'll be done with your $0 voucher.
I just wanted to add one more thing because I didn't hear it. These are intended to be created with the secondary user ID.
Correct.
Not with the regular. So they should have an MAN manual origin.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Marcel, for doing that. We had some questions coming through Menti, so I'll go ahead and ask those, and then we'll also address the questions that came in our WebEx chat bot. Cash receipt transaction requests are currently posted in the AR module. Post go live, will we continue posting in the AR module? And then a follow-up question, will this properly route to SCO for approval? That'll probably have to be a takeaway. Sounds like this is going to be a takeaway question. So we will get back to you on that. Will the reporting structure be the SCO 999 for GL entries?
It should flow all the way down, yeah. So it creates that when it comes inbound, it defaults that. So it creates the AP accounting entries with the SCO 9999, and then when it flows, it should flow the same to GL.
Okay, thank you. And what report is available to view expenditure details at chart fill level for audit purposes?
So I think that's a good, because everything should be that you've posted should be going to GL. So it depends on what report, like what level you're looking for. If you're looking for just what posted, then the chart fields should all be in GL. That's the ultimate destination. So if there's a report that you're using for your GL transactions, it should be the same report.
Okay, thank you, Adam. For tape claims with many payments, will payment information be interfaced by payment or by claim schedule? So, one more time. Then this is a question from DCSD. For tape claims with many payments, will payment information be interfaced by payment or by claim schedule?
So it comes in and is grouped at the claim schedule level. When you see accounting entries, you will actually be able to see accounting entries on the warrant level.
Thank you. Okay. What account code will be used for the claim schedule transactions interfaced from legacy into Fiscal? 5390900 follow-up question. Why this account code? It is a reportable payment account with a Class 3. Any concerns for the possible consequences?
That'll have to be a takeaway because that was approved above my pay grade. So we'll have to see if they have an answer to that question.
Okay, we'll mark that as takeaway. We had Cherry send in, I have submitted a ticket to post my TC23 last week for my funds. How am I going to find out if the Smith Interest JE has been posted and when it is going to be posted? So it sounds like this is a question regarding the Fiscal Service Center, so please contact them and they should be able to assist you. Can you please go over the use tax again?
The use tax would have to be used to liquidate the purchase order because you cannot apply a credit to the sales tax.
To that, Marcella, shouldn't you also select the tax exempt button in the demonstration to avoid calculating use tax?
For that particular PO, when it was set up without tax. With tax. So in this case, I would not have clicked on the tax exempt since it is not tax exempt.
If we are crediting the same chart field as the PO line, how do we correct the SCO default chart field? So if we are crediting the same chart field as the PO line, how do we correct the SCO default chart field?
So in that demonstration, when the second invoice line was being created, she used the duplicate lines. The duplicate basically matched the chart fields, but that would be where you could put the legacy chart fields with the defaults as the credit to those. If you didn't want to do it as part of that voucher, I mean, you could still do that correction in GL. But it seems to me at this point, if you're already liquidating a PO, you might as well correct those accounting with that second invoice line.
Adam, we had a question come in asking to demonstrate a $0 voucher for claims not tied to any POs. As far as we understand, the $0 voucher is supposed to be used to liquidate POs, so there wouldn't be a need for you to create a $0 voucher for a claim that's not tied to a PO.
You could still do it though. So I believe that all you would be doing instead of copying the PO is that you would just create the expenditure line that you wanted to record. The copying the PO just does it for you because it's on the PO, but if you don't have a PO to match to it, then you would just put what the expenditure line you wanted to hit and then the credit line that you wanted to back out. So it would just be omitting the copy PO pieces. Everything else would be the same, pretty much the same, I think.
Okay, thank you. Will electronic claims for revenue funds post to account code 5390900?
I think if it's a revenue refund, if it's a different type, I don't believe that's a requirement. Is it? How that works. We'll have to get back to you on that one. I can't remember how that works for those particular ones, but I would say no, but we'll get back and verify that.
Okay. Can you please clarify the tape claim question? Will the payment data come in for each separate warrant number or as a range of warrants with the same chart fields, like a lump sum transaction, as is the current process?
Yeah, so when it comes in, it comes in and it's associated with the claim schedule, but it is individual payments. So in AP, the county entries that are created are at the warrant level. You can pull it up on that page. You can look at the claim schedule, but you're going to see lines for each warrant.
Thank you. How will selecting use tax applicable in the $0 voucher impact the use tax BOE report? So how will selecting use tax applicable in the $0 voucher impact the use tax BOE report?
We'll have to take that one away because I don't have an immediate answer for that one.
No problem. We will take that one away. For the $0 manual catch-up voucher, where do you put the claim schedule number for future researching purposes?
For this voucher, I would probably put it in that second invoice line. They have the description where Maricela was saying that you can put whatever value you want there, and she put test. I think that to me that seems like a perfect place to put the claim schedule number that's associated with, because especially if you're using it as a reclass, that line could be, this is the appropriation that was associated with that claim schedule.
Okay. Thank you. Is the $0 voucher functionality available to test now?
The $0 functionality, it's not new. It's in production now. It's basically your catch-up voucher with the secondary ID. We're just adding the second, the credit lines to reverse out. This is not new functionality. You can test this right now. You can see how that works.
Okay, thank you. How would we look up the default legacy coding used by SCO?
We'll have to take that away because I'm not sure that that's something that is, I don't know who has access to that configuration, so we'll have to see who has access to that.
Yeah. So this question came from Amanda Perez. Amanda, if you could please send an email to fiscal.cmo with more clarification, we can then send back a response once we get more information from our functional teams. And a question will we receive a notification once the claim schedule has been interfaced into Fiscal?
There's no notification when it's interfaced into Fiscal. If it's an electronic claim, your notification that the warrants were issued is from the DEX file, basically, saying that these warrants were issued for this electronic claim. If it's a paper claim, your notification is the CD-102 that you would get.
Okay. Thank you. And are we doing $0 vouchers for FY18 transactions only, or also for FY17 accruals?
I think it'd be for anything that was issued past December 3rd. So if you issued some payment after December 3rd and it's interfaced into Fiscal, then you would need to do the $0 voucher.
Perfect. Thank you. Will the 1099 data pull from $0 voucher?
I was wondering if this question was coming.
It did.
So You can't actually adjust the 1099 data with the $0 voucher because it has no dollar amount. So if you have a claim schedule that has 1099 reporting, you would have to go and do a manual adjustment. Yeah, these $0 vouchers wouldn't actually do anything with the $0.
Okay, thank you, Adam. That is all the questions we have received up to this point. We are scheduled to run until 3:30 p.m., so I'll give you guys a few more minutes to send in any other questions you may have. Again, we have GL and AP subject matter experts in the room, so if you have questions related to the GL or AP module, please send in your questions and we'll be more than happy to answer them. In the meantime, I'm going to ask you to please complete a feedback survey about these town halls, and we'll be using that same tool that we started with. So if you go to menti.com, either on your phone or on your web browser, and then use code 559656. It's at the bottom of the slide. So it's menti.com, and the code is 559656. And I will go ahead and make the survey available to you now. And while you're completing the survey, it looks like we have had more questions come in, so we'll slowly start answering those as well. Can you please repeat the answer for the last question regarding 1099? And the 1099 question was if you could pull 1099 data from the $0 voucher. And the answer was no. Adam, do you want to elaborate on that again?
Yeah. So yeah, the $0 voucher will not help with your 1099. So you would have to go in and do a manual adjustment for the 1099.
Okay. So manual adjustments only for 1099. Since the $0 voucher supplier ID is populated by the PO, how will we clear SCO default supplier ID? So since the $0 voucher supplier ID is populated by the PO, how will we clear SCO default supplier ID?
So I don't believe it clears out the SCO default supplier ID. So if somebody is, the default is basically just a single pay vendor. So I don't know if there's anybody tracking that particular supplier. I don't know if
Do we want to take away this question?
Yeah.
Okay. So we will take away the question about the $0 voucher supplier ID being populated by the PO, and we'll have a more thorough answer in our next town hall. If zero voucher functionality is currently being utilized through vouchers with an origin of man, how will things change for creating $0 functionality when vouchers with an origin of man are no longer an option?
So the origin of man is not going away, but there will be restrictions on the warrant cache type when we get to milestone 4, which is July of next year. So until then, but as part of the milestone 3 release 3, there is going to be new functionality. It's basically a new $0 voucher that you wouldn't use with the secondary ID. But it's going to be a new option of tagging it to a related item. So you would actually go in and like a drop down and be able to select a particular claim schedule that your BU paid, and then you would be able to copy the PO. So basically copying the PO will tie it to that claim schedule, and you wouldn't use a man anymore. You use a regular origin, a regular voucher. Yeah, so that would be in end of March in that release. You wouldn't be using the secondary ID for these $0 vouchers any longer.
Okay. And are you able to reclassify the accounting info, such as reporting structure and program?
If it rolls up to the same thing, I mean, if it actually makes for a appropriation change, then it would have to route. But these ones, yeah, so you can reclassify with the $0, but if you reclassify in before milestone 4, nobody's really tracking those balances at SCO side, but you wouldn't be able to reconcile if you make a change that's inappropriate with these $0 vouchers. So the $0 vouchers don't route; they're basically the secondary ID. So they will post whatever you put there. But if you are making a correction, a reclassified entry that affects cash for appropriation, it will let you do it, but you won't be able to close your month. So when we get around to milestone 3, release 3, with the new functionality, the new $0 voucher, it won't allow you to do that because when we get to milestone 4, we don't want you to be able to make those kinds of changes. For this release, you're still going to have that option, but I mean, really, it only hurts the department if you make a reclassification that is affecting cash appropriation and it's incorrect.
So to summarize, a lot of things will be changing in
Yeah.
future releases.
A lot of things will change.
That. Earlier, you mentioned that supplier information that is missing from SCO payment interface can be added via $0 voucher transactions and AP module. Can you elaborate how to do that? So I'll repeat the question for the rest of our audience. Earlier, you mentioned that the supplier information that is missing from SCO payment interface can be added by using a $0 voucher transaction in the AP module. Can you elaborate on how to do that?
So as part of that demonstration for the $0 voucher, when it's the original claim schedule paid to the one-time payer, like the default. But the $0 voucher had the new supplier ID. So that's how you would do that. If you just wanted to record that without tying to a PO, you would still create the $0 voucher, create your expenditure line, the reversal line, but with the supplier that you wanted to affect, basically.
Can we
I don't know if I completely answered that.
Okay. And if we didn't answer your question fully, please send us an email. We'll have the Fiscal email on the last slide. Can we just use a normal without the negative amount? For manual catch of voucher, this is due to the 1099 reporting purpose. I think the question is, can they just do a normal catch of voucher for something that isn't tied to a PO?
Here's where you're going to run into a problem if you do that. Is, you're going to have double expenditure. So the original claim schedule posted, and you have it at that high level with the default values. If you create another, if you create a normal voucher without the negative lines, you're just going to make another expenditure line. You have to somehow credit in order to not have a double expenditure. So again, I mean, technically in this release you would be able to do that, but you would have a really hard time closing out your month.
Okay. Thank you, Adam. We will continue answering your questions, but I did want to just ask, I saw 21 of you submitted your feedback on the first 3 questions. Your feedback is really important for us. We will go through all of your answers and look to further improve our future town halls. So if you haven't done so, please go on menti.com and answer those first 3 questions, and then we will close this town hall after we're done with all the questions with that last box where you'll get the opportunity to rate your overall experience. But as we're continuing answering the questions, please take the time to provide your feedback. And back to the questions. Does the $0 voucher allow you to correct the chart field values? So I think that's a follow-up question, and we kind of answered it.
It allows you to do it for this release. Yeah, this particular version of this solution will allow you to reclassify. You just have to be careful what you reclassify to. If you're making a change to a cash appropriation, you have to make sure that you've submitted that in another way that's going to route, because because if you make that change and it doesn't and that change hasn't been done on the legacy side, then when you try and balance, it won't work. So we have more questions on the $0 voucher. Please clarify exactly what we are using the $0 voucher for. You mentioned transactions and claims after December 3rd, but the job aid does not specify this. That is probably just something that has to be updated on the job aid. These $0 vouchers are specific to transactions that it's a legacy claim, we've recorded it, but it doesn't have the supplier information. It doesn't allow you to liquidate POs. This $0 voucher, really the use of it and the main purpose of it is to liquidate POs when you've issued a claim schedule directly through, like as a paper claim or electronic claim, and you have a PO to close out. So that's the main purpose. So it would only be after December 3rd when we are actually interfacing those claim schedules.
Thank you. And then last question, will there be a query that shows all interface payment chart fields by claim schedule number?
I don't believe there currently is one, but we can look into the feasibility of that.
Sounds good. Thank you. We do not have any more questions at this point. We are still available for the next half hour, so if you have any more questions, please send them in. I will go ahead and make the last portion of our Menti survey available. Please rate your overall experience before you leave today so that we can understand what your needs are and what you're liking, what you're not liking, and hopefully further iterate on that process. And again, to do this, you'll have to go to menti.com and use the code 559656. It's on the bottom of the slide there. We did get another question. We have been speaking about paper claims. However, when closing a PO in regards to ORF payments, are we still using the $0 process?
I would think that you would follow whatever process you're using today, because there's no change to that in this release. So whatever you're doing now, if you have an ORF payment, I think that you would probably use whatever process you're using today.
Okay. When a claim schedule has invoices with no POs, do we still need to create a $0 voucher, or will there be another job aid for this?
I think we'll probably have conversations on whether we need to have a separate job aid or just a separate section of that job aid. If there is not a PO, if there's no PO to liquidate, it doesn't seem like you would really need to do a $0 voucher unless you wanted to be able to track payments to a specific supplier. But when you come up with that supplier, I don't know how well that would even show up, because it's $0 and there's no real payment associated with it. So it seems to me, if you're not liquidating a PO, I don't see why you would need to use the $0 voucher, unless you wanted to use that as your vehicle for reclass. It depends on how you want to use it right now.
Looks like that is all the questions that we have for today. Thank you for joining us. We will have this recording and the PowerPoint presentation be posted on the SCO Integrated Solution page within the next few days, so please check there. And then again, please provide your feedback on Menti before leaving. We would really like to know how well these WebEx town halls are serving you. And if you have any additional questions that you think of after, please send them to fiscal.cmo@fiscal.california.gov. Thank you. Have a good day.